moving forward, we have another enlightening keynote session on the topic identifying the factors affecting user safety at bus stops, a step towards improving bus ridership by Dr. MOHAN. I request Bhargavi Madam to kindly introduce Dr. MOHAN to the gallery.
So, good morning everyone. So, it's my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. MOHAN sir. Dr. MOHAN works as an assistant professor in the Department of Civil Engineering at National Institute of Technology, Surathkal, Karnataka. He has received his doctoral degree in Civil Engineering, specialized in Transportation Engineering from Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee, India. He also received his master degree in Transportation Engineering from IIT Roorkee and Bachelor's in Civil Engineering from Kerala University. His main area of interest is on traffic flow modeling. He has published 17 articles in international journals and has guided 11 master's theses. He backed a funded project titled Development of Trip Generation Manual for Indian Citizens funded by CRRI for 7.9 lakhs as nodal principal investigator. He bagged many awards and fellowships. Few of them are International Travel Grant from Science and Engineering Research Board, DST, Government of India for attending 98th Annual Meeting of Transportation Research Board, TRB in USA. Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, Government of India Assistantship for Doctoral Research. Ministry of Human Resource Development, Government of India Develop Fellowship for Postgraduate Studies. So it's our honor to have you with Dr. MOHAN sir. So now I welcome Dr. MOHAN sir, our keynote speaker, to deliver a talk on identifying the factors affecting user safety at bus stops, a step towards improving bus ridership. Welcome, you, sir.
Very good morning to one and all, and thank you for that introduction. I'm here to present on the topic called identifying the factors affecting user safety at bus stops. And this topic, what I'm going to discuss, is a part of the research conducted by one of my research scholars at MIT Surathkal. So I think you have been hearing about sustainable development since yesterday in many domains. And here I am going to present something on the transportation sector. So when we talk about sustainable mobility, I think sustainable transport or sustainable mobility, the definition is available here. So what it says is that it refers to the ways that are sustainable in terms of both social as well as environmental impacts. And these sustainable transportation systems can be evaluated based on the following components with regards to the particulars of the vehicles that are used, the source of energy that's powering these vehicles, and the kinds of infrastructure that is required to support them. So as a part of this presentation, I'll be concentrating more on bus users, and in this case, the vehicles which I am talking about is the public transportation, simply buses, and the infrastructure element that I'm going to talk about is regarding the transit stops or the bus stops. Now, the presentation is aimed towards the two objectives. One is to explore the factors that attracts more people towards the usage of buses, and then to identify what these factors are which really hamper or which really affect the safety of bus users at the bus stops. And once we are able to identify or isolate those factors, we'll be able to adopt appropriate action in order to improve the facilities that are available so that we'll be able to attract more people towards the buses. So why do we require people to be attracted more towards the buses? That's the first question to answer, right? So if you look at the general picture of traffic operations in India, what it tells you is, what is surprised here, so the transportation sector is one of the major contributors when it comes to air pollution, because these internal combustion engine vehicles, so they emit a lot of pollutants into the atmosphere. And over the past few decades, what we have seen is there is a tremendous rise in the number of vehicles that are plying on the Indian roads. So due to this, when the more number of vehicles are there, obviously there will be more amount of pollutants that are emitted into the atmosphere. And a study in 2017, they have found that around 1.1 million people die in India prematurely because of the diseases that are associated with air pollution. And during another study, probably in the year 2019, this figure was found to still rise. And also, this India's transportation sector basically accounts for about 18% of the total energy consumption, and it further contributes to about 142 million tons of CO2, which is a greenhouse gas emission. And as per the COP21 summit, India has agreed that it will try to reduce, or it will attempt to reduce the greenhouse emissions in India by around 33 to 35% below what was the level in 2005 by the year 2030. And we are still a long way away from achieving this target. Now, one of the common adopted strategy that is being popularized and being pushed forth by the government of India is towards the adoption of electric powered vehicles, or the EVs. So EVs, as you know, these are electrically charged vehicles, and it does not require any conventional fossil fuel to power it, and it does not emit any pollution into the atmosphere. And one of the study that was done by one of my MTech students, what she has found is that she has done a simulation study to understand how much amount of effluence or air pollution is resulting from the vehicles that are passing through a signalized intersection in Delhi. So what we have tried is, we have tried reducing the number of conventional cars by EVs. So all the other vehicles we kept the same, but the number of cars powered by the conventional fuels were replaced by EVs. And we have found that there is a significant reduction in the pollution levels, as you can see from this diagram that is shown here. However, because even when there has been so many policies that has been adopted, like the one that I have mentioned here, still the amount of penetration of EVs into the Indian market has been quite low. So in order to promote these penetration of EVs, what the government has introduced a number of schemes, starting with the National Electric Mobility Mission Plan of 2020, which was launched in the year 2013, and the aim was to for the promotion of hybrid and electric vehicles. And under this scheme, there was something called as the FAME project, or the FAME India scheme. FAME stands for for the promotion of adoption and manufacturing of EVs and hybrid vehicles in the country. And all these steps have been taken to enhance the number of vehicles, or the EV adoption rates, to a much higher level than what we have now. But still, it has been quite low. It is mainly owing to these factors which I have listed down below. One is regarding the anxiety about the range of the vehicles. How long can it run? How long? So we used to hear from the advertisement that these vehicles can run under full charge for around 100 to 200 kilometers. All these have come up. But at the same time, there is still an apprehension that over the years, what happens is the battery efficiency is going to reduce. So what happens? Whether it will be able to fulfill the range that it has promised over the time, that is still not very sure. And if its battery efficiency is going to come down, we will require more amount of charging facilities, charging infrastructure that is to be made available. Again, these charging facilities are not there at many of the places. Further, these charging facilities, you may have to drop your vehicle for around 30 to 45 minutes. 45 minutes in case of fast charging facilities. So, will you be able to wait for 45 minutes to charge your vehicles? Because what we are used to is we go into the petrol pumps within 10 minutes, so we can just come out with a full tank. That's the maximum time that we may be required to spend. So, in comparison, we are to spend a longer period to charge the vehicles for you. So whether are we going to adopt that? Then cost. The battery cost is still on the high side, and because of which obviously the vehicle cost is also higher. And it's a relatively new technology, so everyone will have an apprehension towards adapting anything that is coming relatively new into the market. So because of all these, the EV adoption rate has been quite low. In addition to that, there are some other criteria that we may have to discuss further before we push ourselves into the EV market. So one is regarding how we can power these vehicles. What is the source of energy that is required for us to power these vehicles? EV vehicles are good, they don't pollute the environment, but at the same time, what is the source of energy that is required for us to power these vehicles? So if you look at the table on the right, this is actually taken from the Ministry of Power Government of India. So what it says is that from the total power that can be generated in the country, out of these only 43% comes from non-fossil fuels. So the rest comes from the fossil fuel itself, and among that 49.1% is coming from the thermal power plants which uses coal as a fuel. So although we may be reducing the pollutant levels inside the city, but at the same time the source of pollutants are still the same, which are required to power these vehicles. Now the second criteria is something that I as a traffic engineer is more interested in. So what we in traffic engineering does is we are more committed towards helping people to commute from their origin to destination in a safe and efficient manner. So if there is more traffic, obviously you will have to spend more time on the road. That adds to your frustration, and that is not something that is recommended, right? So this figure shows you what happens if you replace all the personalized vehicles which are powered by conventional fuels by electric powered vehicles. It does not make much of a difference. You can see the same image everywhere. Now, why this personalized vehicles is so detrimental is being shown by these two diagrams. So the first one, the figure on the left, that shows one stadium in US, and you can see a lot of small dots. The picture is quite small, so I don't know whether you can make it out. So those dots are actually parked vehicles of people who have come to visit the stadium. So if you compare this parking space that is occupied in relation to the stadium, you can see that that parking space required is much more than the area that is covered by the stadium as such. And the figure on the right is probably you might have seen this figure. It has been circulating in the internet over the past few years. So this is in China. So this is people returning into the city after spending their holidays. So they are all crammed up at a toll plaza which is leading into the city. So it's I think it's around 50-lane highway is there. That is just converging into a 4-lane highway. So you can see how much amount of traffic it is there. So this is really the EV that is contributing, that is to be pushed forth to have a sustainable transportation or the mobility plan. That is a question to be answered. So in that case, what can we do? So the best way is to promote public transportation. So you see the figure on the, part of the figure on the left and part of the figure on the right. It represents the same crowd, the mode used to bring these people to that place. So you can see that the long line of cars is there. That entire number of cars can be replaced by a single bus. So if you are able to have more people use the public transportation facility, allow them to shift from their personalized modes into the public transportation facilities, we'll be able to achieve much lesser traffic. So I think those who are in Bangalore would be able to appreciate what I'm trying to say, because we have long jams, long queues, long amount of travel times that we have to invest when traveling from one location to other. So that can be reduced in case if we are able to push people towards using public transportation. So public transportation that covers a lot of transportation modes, starting from the normal buses that we see, metros, monorails, light trains, all these are available here. But when we compare across all these, metros, monorails, all these runs across a specified path. They will not be able to reach each and every nook and corner of the city. So what's the way forward? It's always the public transportation. Buses, you can use it to travel as closely to your destination from your place of origin. So that's why the later part of this presentation is focused on buses. So developing countries like India, we suffer a lot because of the traffic congestion, the fuel consumption that has increased over the time, which has resulted in higher amount of vehicle emissions. Travel cost has increased, as well as the total number of accidents that has happened has also increased, all because of this uncontrolled increase in the vehicular traffic. And therefore, if we want to improve the quality of the existing public transportation, that is the only way forward by which we can reduce all these aforesaid issues. Now, increasing the service performance obviously can increase the ridership. More people will now use the facility. And among these service performance measures that we have to improve, safety comes out to be one of the most important ones. More safer the facility, more people will be relying on it. And why safety is important is because it's not only the safety within the vehicle, but also at the place where they board and deboard the bus. So at the bus facility also, because you have to get down, you have to walk probably to your destination. So at some point of time, even a bus traveler is a pedestrian. So that's why the safety becomes a really important thing. Now, bus stops have been identified as a very critical element when it comes to any public transportation network, because these are the places where the people interact with the vehicles. And what is more important is not actually the safety that is available, it is actually what is perceived by the users. How much I as a user feel safe to use the facility. That's a perceived safety. That is having more weightage, and this has been established by many researchers. So and this perception of safety is being contributed by the location, the design of the bus stops, as well as the surrounding area in and around the bus stops. And there have been many studies which have been related to. So this is something what we are trying to do is something to add to fill in the gaps that is already available in the literature. So coming to what we have done, this first part of the study was done during the Corona period, so we were not able to go out and collect this information. So what we have done is, we have prepared a questionnaire and we have circulated it through online to some target population. So target population was, since my research scholar was from Kerala, so she was trying to understand what sort of an impact is the bus stop safety playing for these people who are in Kerala. So that is what we are trying to do. And for this, two things were studied. One is we have to consider what are the factors which are affecting the decision making of the users. And second is what factors really poses safety issues at the bus stops. Now, as I mentioned, we have done this online. A questionnaire was prepared, and the questionnaire captures information regarding these four elements: the socio-economic characteristic of the respondents, then his or her travel characteristics, accident history, whether they have witnessed an accident or have been a victim of an accident. This data information we collected, and then we have given them certain situations where they were asked to rate whether how important or how crucial those elements is on a Likert scale of 1 to 5. Now we started with a pilot survey, around 40 plus responses were collected, and based on the responses we have further refined the questionnaire, and then the final survey again through online itself was conducted, and for which had around 400 participants. And then once we got the results, we have gone through the data once again and seen that whether there is any mismatches or illogical entries are there, based on which finally we had to do something and finally came up to a sample size of 337. And these are all the aspects of the questionnaire that we had asked, apart from their own personal information. So all these questions were put forth to their respondents, and they were asked to rate it on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being least important and 5 being most important. So the questions are like this. First one is whether they are concerned about their safety while traveling. Second is whether they feel unsafe to run after the bus. Suppose if the bus is not stopping exactly at the bus shelter and is stopping ahead, then how safe do they feel if they have to run behind the bus and catch them, or if the bus is stopping well ahead of the bus stop, they have to run to the backside and catch the bus. Again, how much safe do they feel? Then if the bus is not stopping very adjacent to the curb and it is stopping somewhere in the middle of the lane, then how safe do they feel? And whether any queuing of the buses, will it affect their visibility and causes any issue to the safety? Whether this hurrying up of these bus operators, whether that will pose any safety issues, lack of roof shelters or safety barriers at the bus stop, whether this will affect their safety, and whether the waterlogging in and around the facility, as well as when you have vegetation growing near the bus shelter, will it have any impact? and then the lack of sitting facilities, or when there's an encroachment by street vendors and all, will it pose any issues? And if the bus is approaching at a higher speed, will you find it comfortable, or will it be impairing your safety? And the lack of lighting facilities, will it pose any threat to your safety? Availability of a very narrow platform, will it cause any issues, and whether you will be able to easily board a bus where the footboard is much raised than the normal. Then the presence of potholes, gutters, etc., whether will it affect your safety, whether it's overcrowding which is will cause any issues. Then improper use of sidewalks, as well as the unruly behavior of your co-passengers. Like when you get in the bus, you may be shoved or pushed by the other passengers. Will it cause any influence on your safety? And the lack of pedestrian crossing facilities in and around the bus stops, is it really required? Whether they're locating the bus stops on the curves or junctions, are they dangerous? Because it will cause your visibility, it will affect your visibility. And the improperly maintained facility, will it have an influence? And if there is an overtaking through the left side, if the buses are parked much away from the curb, you can expect vehicles to come through the left. So will it affect? So, and whether it will mean need of a specially able people, so that is to be causing any problem to their threat to their safety. Location, either schools, traveling around or traveling with others. All these factors will it be affecting your safety. So these questions were asked, and people were asked to rate it on a scale of 1 to 5. And as a summary of the first part, where we asked them whether what are the important things that will affect their choice towards adopting bus transportation. So these are the results that I have summarized here. So what I have highlighted in red shows what is the maximum people have rated. So you can see that distance is one of the most important criteria, followed by travel time and timeliness. These were the criteria that mainly influence the choice or the selection of bus as their mode of transportation. And surprisingly, we found that the safety comes only fourth, which were to our surprise also, because we thought that people will be more oriented towards safety. Because nowadays, earlier times, when we go, the usual consumers, when they go and purchase a vehicle, they are more concerned about mileage. Now they have shifted and started asking them how many airbags are available in the vehicle. So safety, the people are realizing the importance of safety. However, here we were unable to get a correct picture like that. So, and further, for all the questions which we asked them to rate it on a scale of 1 to 5, we didn't find anywhere that 5 is coming. Always it was slightly skewed toward the left. That is, in most of the cases, people did not feel that it is really hampering their safety. So all these are the summary of what we had asked. So everywhere we can see that it's all skewed toward the left. So which was also against our belief that safety is affected, but the respondents were telling some other story. And we also did a cross-tabulation analysis wherein we tried to see what is the safety ratings or the difference in the safety ratings between people who have been victim of accidents and who has not been a victim of accidents. So we were feeling that yes, victims, since they have met with an accident, they will give more priority to safety than the others. But here also, if we see, it's also the same case. There is no difference. And two tables are there. One is we have even classified them based on the gender, male and female. So there also we didn't find anything significant. The same thing we did with the accident victims, witnesses also. And here also it was the same trend. And to summarize, what we have found is that the safety among the factors which affects a person's choice towards a public transportation, it has come out to be only the fourth one. And across all the questions we had asked, everyone had each of these questions has relatively lower ratings when it comes to safety. And even from the cross-tabulation analysis, we didn't find anything significant. So where did we go wrong? So our presumption was the safety is important. People will give more weightage to safety, and these all factors are the ones which are likely to influence safety. So this first part of the research has failed. So why we have failed is something we need to analyze, and how we have to overcome that deficiency is what we are going to in the second stage. So this basically highlights the disadvantage of online surveys. So we have done the surveys online, we did not collect the feedback from the people at the bus stops. So they were sitting at the comfort of their home and they were simply clicking the button. So the actual representation of their behavior we were unable to find from this. And thus we had confirmed that online surveys will not work forth. And also, we have directly asked people to rate their safety on a scale of 1 to 5. So even this was people were finding hard to probably rate this on a direct scale. So what we have decided is we have to go for a direct field measurement, as well as we have to go for some sort of indirect measurement of safety. So the second part of the survey deals with the same. The questionnaire were exactly similar to what we have used in the case of online survey, but it was through a face-to-face interview. So interviews were carried out at 30 locations in Kerala, and we started with the hypothesis that we will measure safety indirectly as a second order later construct. And the hypothesis is that we adopted in this research is the safety is affected by all of these elements, the facilities that are available at the bus stops, the behavior of the bus operators, behavior of the users, facilities, pedestrian facilities available, and the bus stop location. And we have collected the information, the data were further cleaned, and in total we had around 384 samples there. And this is the hypothesized model that we have taken here. So, why the pointer is not working? So, anyway, the one on the right, that is the overall perceived safety. That is now being modeled as a second order lateral construct, and which is derived from first order lateral construct, which is shown by the oval elements, which is to its immediate left. So those are also not derived directly, but are derived from the ones that is shown on the extreme left, the one in the rectangle columns. So this is a fundamental approach that we use in something called as structural equation modeling, or SEM. In the structural equation modeling, we define the structure and build in the interrelationship between the factors, the independent factors and the dependent variable over here. And we have done this exercise in SPSS 25 and AMOS 22. And the analysis considered were done in 4 stages. The first one, we started with an exploratory factor analysis, or the EFA, where we were able to check or verify whether the items are loaded to the correct factors. So the factors of the first level construct, whether they were loaded correctly or not, that we are going to do in this stage. This is followed by a confirmatory factor analysis, and here the first orders measurement models, validity, its reliability, everything is checked here. If it is satisfied based on all the statistical parameters, we will move on to the third step, where we have developed the second order CFA analysis to find out what is the perceived safety. And finally, we have tried to link the overall safety to the people's personal traits, the socioeconomic characteristics, through something called as a structural equation modeling. So the fourth step I'm not going into detail here. Why? Because it is beyond the scope of what I am discussing. So we'll stop at the third step. Now, if anyone is interested in really knowing how these steps were accomplished or what these are, you can just refer to the paper that I have shown below. So it is accepted, not published yet. So if anyone is interested, you can contact me. I can share the preprint of this. So this is what we got out of the confirmatory factor analysis. All those factors which we have started in the hypothesis model, some of them are not there because we didn't find them to be relevant. And this is how the diagram looks like. Now what it says. So I think the figures are quite small. So this figure of overall safety related to bus facility that has a loading of around 0.83. bus operator's behavior that has a loading of 0.5. So what it means is that which is the most influencing factor. So in this diagram, what it says is bus stop facility is the one that is really influencing the bus safety, and within the bus stop facility, again we have factor loadings there, and among this, the maximum factor loading is assigned for the provision of lighting facilities of 0.81. So that means that if you want to immediately look at some factors and improve it, you should be improving the lighting facilities at the bus stop, which is what many of the users think that it is the most important factor. And all these scores I have represented here. And further on, by looking at all those factors which are influenced, all these are having its own relative influence, like the improper behavior from the bus users regarding whether they are stopping properly, whether they are forcing to people to hurry up. All these are influencing factors. Then the location of bus stops on intersections as well as curves also affect their behavior. And the vehicles approaching the bus stops at high speed, and the people's behavior, other users' behavior, all these are influencing their decision on the safety. So ultimately, we are left with this diagram. And why this diagram is important is, suppose if someone asks, I need to improve or I need to attract more people towards the bus transportation. So what should I do? So if you want to improve the safety, and suppose you have thousands of bus stops in a city like Bangalore, you will have more than thousands of bus stops obviously. We will not be able to improve all these bus stops to the best possible extent. We will be able to select something at each of these bus stops and improve them. So that is what we are able to in a limited budget. If budget was not constrained, obviously we would have improved everything. Now what this diagram says is that you are able to identify or pinpoint those factors whose improvement will have a much significant impact on the overall safety. So in this case, it is lighting that has come to be the most important. Lighting improves the bus stop facility, and that improves the score for the overall safety. So by looking at such kind of diagrams, you will be able to isolate those factors which we can improve or resolve. So as a concluding remarks, so we started with an online survey to identify what are the factors that influence the bus users' safety, and which does not yield any particular results. And then we have come to the conclusion that the online surveys does not work properly. We went for a field survey, and also from the online survey, that was the starting point when we realized that the direct measurement of safety at bus stops won't work, so we have to adopt some sort of indirect measurement. So that was also done in the second part of the study. And the loadings that finally we obtain from the second part of the study can help you to isolate those factors whose immediate improvement could bring forth more people, improve the safety at the bus stops that can attract finally more people towards the facility. So these are the references that I have used, and my email ID is there. If you have any doubts or any concerns or something, you can contact me at this email ID, and I'll be more than happy to reply to you. And all of these diagrams I have taken from a Facebook group which is on transportation planning and analysis. So I convey my courtesy to that group for sharing these pictures also. So if there are any doubts or some questions, I'm more than happy to address them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. MITHUN for sharing your expertise on identifying the factors affecting user safety at bus stops. Your session was truly enlightening and thought-provoking. Thank you, sir. Once again, I request our beloved HOD, sir, Dr. Chandrasekhar, to facilitate Dr. MITHUN on behalf of Jyoti Institute of Technology. I would like to express my sincere appreciation to both the keynote speakers, Dr. Anupama and Dr. MOHAN, for their exceptional keynote sessions. Thank you. I would also like to thank all the staff members, students and all the participants for your presence, and thanks for witnessing both the sessions.